Hey, what's up? It's Bon. Let's talk about Mass Effect. I wanted to kind of riff a little bit, pretty much off the top of my head, about what they're going to do with the next Mass Effect game when it comes to the story. I had a little bug planted in my head when speaking to Mark Dara. I just did a interview with him that is currently available right here on this YouTube channel or on any podcast. If you look up the Echo Cast, I had a really good chat with Mark, who is a former BioWare dev who was a pretty big part of Dragon Age and Jade Empire, and all of the Dragon Ages, and as well as Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, and the other Mass Effect games as well. And one thing we talked about is what they're going to do with the next game with Mass Effect, because I had brought up how Dragon Age kind of averted the issue that Mass Effect has with Shepard and with the ending of Mass Effect 3, to the point where he kind of quipped about, there's a reason Andromeda was set, 600 years in the future, so we didn't have to deal with it, basically. And how he was talking a lot about how, with the Warden and other main characters from the Dragon Age series, people care about them and they're invested, but, Shepard was a unique thing, and that they can't just get rid of Shepard. It won't be that simple, at least, to just, and they kind of tried that with Andromeda, and it, for better or worse, failed or didn't, depending on how you look at it. And so a point I made, that I brought up to him and he seemed pretty agreeable to, is this idea that canon setting is probably going to be necessary for the next Mass Effect game. And the reason I say that is because by the end of the trilogy, they had set such a wide net when it comes to the story that no matter how they ended the game, it was going to disappoint a segment of people. Now, they probably didn't anticipate picking a way to end it that upset like basically everyone, especially before the extended cut. But, it's interesting because Shepard's this interesting character, and the story of the trilogy is interesting because you have a lot of room to make choices, but you also kind of get funneled down the same path no matter what, especially as 2 and 3 develop. And there's this idea that, I've seen people have of like, well, if they can't take into account all 3 endings and all of the choices you can make in the next game, they shouldn't. Well, they are making a game, so we have to address it then. And so I've seen people say things like, well, just set the game so far in the future that no matter what choice you made, you can just kind of hand wave it and just and let it be kind of mentioned or referenced, but not let it affect the world that much. And to me, I've said this a few times in various bits of content, I think that's more disrespectful than picking one canon ending and maybe multiple canon choices and going hard and allowing it to then expand the universe from that one point, rather than wasting all your resources and just trying to take into account all of the old potential choices and coming to a point where you're going to make a game that is already from the start too big story-wise, which will then make it hard to expand it at all, and will also make it an extremely challenging game to make even reasonably quickly. We're probably not looking at a 5-6 year development cycle on this Mass Effect game like from today. They've been working on it for at least 2 or 3 years in pre-production, right? So when I spoke to Mark, it was kind of this conversation of, and I have my own biases, and I'm sure everyone does, you would almost want to make some of the community mad by narrowing down the choice to a single canon ending. Then you would need to probably pick a few of the big choices through the games to make canon or not. the genophage being cured, I think has to be made canon one way or the other. Maybe the Rachni, they might be kind of like, maybe they could allow us to make that choice in the next game. And the Geth Quarian thing, I don't care about that one as much because I think they've already hinted pretty heavily that the Geth are dead, but that the Geth will be heavily involved in the next game, but that's all speculation. So it was an interesting thing, and it was interesting hearing him kind of give his perspective on how, Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect universe is pretty unique. Maybe you could say, the main character from the 3 Witcher games, but I'm pretty sure the indication is that there will be a new protagonist in the next Witcher game. And that's because they kind of did wrap up that story in 3. And I know a lot of people say, like, well, Commander Shepard's story is very clearly ended in 3, but it's not. If anything, it's left on the biggest cliffhangers of all cliffhangers. And I think that they're going to have to figure out how to handle Shepard and how to reasonably move the story forward. I honestly think the hiring and the putting of Mary DeMarley into the narrative director spot is extremely good news. I think someone with that much experience in these types of games, who from her previous game seems to have some affection for this series, if anyone can do it, it's her, right? And, I think everyone's wish and hope was that the original writer from the first game, from the original books and stuff, Drew, would come back as well. But it seems like he's kind of doing his thing. So I think that they put themselves in a spot, especially with that opening teaser trailer where they reference Shep very directly by having Liara hold his helmet and kind of look up and smile. That's such a clear reference, and they'll be dancing on some hot coals if that was a complete red herring. I also think that I'm really curious to see what they're going to do, because I think that the idea of narrowing down the story a bunch to allow them to expand again would be probably so much easier and just so much better for the narrative and where the next game will go. Than trying to just make everything work and make everyone happy. We'll have to see what they do. So I kind of just wanted to talk about, I've talked about this in bits and pieces of other videos, but I've never made one just about this, and I wanted to make something just about this. So let me know what you think. I'm really curious to what you want, whether it comes to Shepard or the endings. The one thing I don't want to really hear is, well, if they can't do everything, they shouldn't do anything, because they're doing something. So we're past that bridge. Now it's kind of a, what realistically should and can they do moving forward? Should they try to incorporate all the endings, all the choices? Should they make some stuff canon? What would you like to see them make canon or not? And then what do you want to see with what do you want to see them do with Shepard? That's something I am genuinely interested in. And that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. So, make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment down below, check out my Twitter at Bondiesel, check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/Bondiesel, check out the podcast, the EchoCast, where I do a weekly news show, and I've been doing interviews lately. I did one with Yannick from the Division 2, the creative director. I did one with N7 Legend, a big streamer and a fan of the Mass Effect series. I just interviewed Mark Dara. All of those interviews are currently up, and I have more coming soon. So, with that, until next time.